Welcome, friends, to the animation experience at Conservation Station. Since the 1930s, Disney animators have put their pencils to paper in service of the idea that the greatest inspiration often comes from the magic of nature. Walt Disney himself understood the importance of spending time around animals, studying their behavior and personalities in order to create realistic characters and dynamic storylines. This meeting of the human and animal worlds sparked a legacy of storytelling that has shaped our relationship with animals and conservation forever. Today, we invite you to become a part of that legacy as our own Disney artists help you learn to sketch characters inspired by the very animals found here at Disney's Animal Kingdom. Get your pencils ready, because here comes our animation artist now.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the animation experience. I hope you're all super excited. We've all got a pretty full class out here. Now, I do have a question. Did anyone see who we are drawing? Yeah? Not the lion. We actually have a very, very smaller animal. We have Dim. He's a rhinoceros beetle, so a nice little insect from, of course, Bug's Life. It's a really cool, in a few weeks, I know we'll be debuting, it's a real Bug's Life on Disney+. You can actually kind of go behind the scenes and see kind of how our inspiration does come. Though, before we get started, I also want to make sure we have everything. I'm seeing papers, pencils, and clipboards. And if anything does happen as we are sketching, like your pencil breaks, paper tears, or maybe you've been walking around a lot and just want to sit back and color, or if you need to leave the theater, pretty much anything that you need, just raise your hand. One of my friends around there can definitely come over and help you out. But now that we have all that, like I said, we do need our inspiration. Like we have a long history of bringing animals into the studio and drawing from real life. Probably would be kind of hard, though, to kind of get all the details on that little rhinoceros beetle. So we're going to kind of get a little bit of different inspiration, like I said, especially for our new show coming out. Take a look at the monitors for that nice inspiration.
Hi everyone, and welcome to the animation experience at Conservation Station here at Disney's Animal Kingdom theme park, where today is all about exploring and celebrating the wonderful life of bugs. That's right, bugs are amazing. In fact, did you know that a bee's wings can beat over 200 times a second? Ants can lift up to 20 times their own body weight, and there are more than 1 million different species of bugs? Now, National Geographic invites you to discover even more about these incredible insects in a series of remarkable adventures in A Real Bug's Life. These are epic tales on a miniature scale inspired by the world of Disney and Pixar's A Bug's Life and the beloved adventures of Flick, Dot, Slim, and Dim. And that's who you're going to learn how to draw today, one of these special characters. So, happy drawing. Have an amazing day at Disney's Animal Kingdom. And be sure to check out National Geographic's A Real Bug's Life, streaming January 24th on Disney+.
Yeah, so a pretty cool show coming out. Now, who here has at least seen the original Bug's Life? A few of you? Okay, awesome. Actually, most of you. Great. Yeah, it came out 26 years ago in 1998. We have one of our characters, like I said, Dim. He's a nice little rhinoceros beetle up on screen. Now you guys can sit back, relax, and have fun to start sketching. No, I'm just kidding. It's a step-by-step drawing class, so do not worry. But it is always nice to see what we're going to end up with, because you're pretty much drawing one frame of animation. And if you are super inspired after this class and want to draw Dim like 24 more times, you can actually have that whole second. Now, to make sure, though, we're keeping him proportional, we do have our nice guidelines to help ourselves out. And we're going to zoom in a little bit so we can work on extra little details for him. Now, sometimes I will be adding some extra guidelines. I'll just be keeping those nice and light. And then before we get started, if anyone is nervous, I'll even show you the end of my pencil. We have no erasers here. We're the sketch artists, which actually gives us permission to be messy and have fun. We're just getting that personality down here on paper. So if you do make me make a line that isn't your favorite, we're going to actually go to the cleanup department that makes those lines nice and pretty for that final film. So think of it as someone else's problem. We're going to have to worry. It's just for fun. It's for us. And now Dim, he does have quite a big body. We're going to kind of work on his eyes. You can see we have 2 guidelines right here. His eyes are kind of circular, so we're going to start to use our shoulder. It's a nice ball and socket. It's going to kind of help you get those even shapes that you are looking for. Now, as we go in to draw this circle, we're also going to make sure we are keeping it nice and light. We're going to kind of modify it just a little bit in order to draw that circular shape in. Now, once we do have kind of that shape, we're going to add some extra details. Of course, a lot of these characters we do anthropomorphize, which means we're adding those human characteristics, especially for the eyes. Beetles out there, they actually have compound eyes, so it's kind of like a bunch of little eyes put together, like a nice big kaleidoscope, so you kind of see pretty much almost all around them. Now for the eye, though, we're going to kind of work a little bit on that bottom eyelid. We're almost going to cut a little bit of that circle off with a nice big swoop, like a big smiley face. Just a little bit. And now that we have that, we can go and darken in the rest of that circle. These nice big eyes. Whereas we go to end up connecting our circle, we're going to do one extra detail. You can zoom in a little bit more. This kind of smiley boat shape that we made, I'm going to pull it out just a little bit more. And we're going to make a very curvy kind of triangle. You're going to go kind of from the top of that circle and pull it down, kind of acts like his eyelid. We're going to show a little bit of that bottom part of the eyelid as well. Once again, kind of even following that curve of the circle. Just like that. Now these eyes, though, they are kind of looking a little ghostly. We definitely need to add in those pupils. So we're going to make a little bit of a smaller circle, almost about half the size. And he's looking a little bit at an angle. We're going to kind of shoot for a little off to the right. Once you kind of got that circle shape, a few extra details that we can add, just like if you look at your own eyes, you know, the nice colored part, the iris, and then that dark black pupil. We are going to kind of separate it. First, though, we're going to nice reflection of light, so we can draw a little circle in it. And then as we go to draw on the pupil, we actually don't even have to draw a circle. We're going to kind of just build it up a little bit. Just around. Almost looks like a weird figure eight kind of shape. But we do have one eye, and then our second eye, a little bit it's actually hidden behind the horn of that beetle. Nice little solid drawing, so these characters really do feel three-dimensional. And I have to kind of show that horn right where our guideline is. Gonna kind of stretch it and stretch it out, almost about halfway. And then for our second eye, we're pretty much going to kind of repeat the process with a nice light circle as well. Like I said, solid drawing is really important. I feel like these characters could just pop out of the paper. Now, of course, since you have seen the movie, you know these characters are 3D. This is Pixar's second film, so it did take quite a bit of engineering. A lot of these characters were kind of more complex than, say, like characters you might see from Toy Story. So it definitely was a little bit of a challenge. Even just to get inspiration, how are you really going to study all these bugs out here? What they did is they actually just took inspiration from their own backyard. So you can do the same thing when you head back home. They set up a nice little camera called the Bug Cam, and it was super advanced. It was a little camera with some Lego wheels, and they just drove around the campus. I'm actually going to add in our second eyelid right over here. Once again, nice little kind of weird triangle shape. And we can add in that second eyeball. But yeah, the animators over at Pixar, they just took that little bug cam and drove around the studio and kind of see how all these different species would actually interact with each other. And there's no really short inspiration. Bugs actually take about 25% of all life on Earth. And like I said, you can even go to your own backyard, maybe set up your own little camera and then just go and kind of see what might be living out there. Before a rhinobeetle, one important thing that we do need to add is going to be that horn. Now his horn, you can see we have a nice little guideline over here. It is going to act as the antenna, and we're going to go just a little bit below that and kind of make like a upside down U shape. Something like that. And then we are going to connect this U to, remember, our little line that was sticking out. We do have to make sure to touch this guideline. It's kind of a big area, so we'll just make sure that we are going to be keeping it nice and light. And we can go back and see what we like. Just kind of go down, and we can pull it up. And once you got that motion, then we can go and darken it in. Now we're going to see this horn, because Din is going to be a male. Female rhinoceros beetles actually don't have that horn. Instead, they just have kind of a nice little bump for them. And now that we have this horn, we can add in some extra little details. Like we need a little eyelid for this second eye. And we also want Dim to be smiling. And whenever you smile, you actually kind of push your cheeks up into your eyes and your face. So we have our nice guideline right over here to help ourselves out. Almost pretend like we're tracing this, and then this line just wants to almost jump to this guideline. We're not going to go all the way. And then we're going to do the same thing right over here, almost like it's leaping. Maybe like Dim's trying to fly with those wings. But now we have a nice little break because we're actually going to get to trace this big old circle to get most of that horn, but we do need an ending point. I'm going to zoom out one more time for us. All right, now, his horn does kind of bleed into his mouth. He's got a nice little lip. So we're going to use this guideline right over here and kind of pull it straight down. We can make ourselves a little dot. Like I said, we do deserve a break. We just did some big old eyes and this horn. So we're just going to go and kind of trace the rest of this. Once we start to get close to that little dot, we're actually going to pull it in a little bit. That way we can kind of show that lip. Yeah, but these horns are super important. Helps them to defend. Sometimes you'll even hear them called the Hercules beetle because they can lift about 30 to 100 times their weight. Or maybe they're just trying to look for some food. They can be digging with it. But we should kind of get a little bit of this lip shape as we pull in. And just like before, we also need to make sure that he can be smiling. So we should know probably where we should end. We're going to give him a little bit extra part of his cheek. His cheek is nothing fancy. It's just an S curve. It's just a curve that looks like an S. Although to know where we should start, kind of about halfway between this guideline, we can pull it down. Kind of where our S curve's going to go. But now he's got his cheeks, we can kind of finish off the top of his mouth. It's going to be a big boat shape. Now sometimes it even helps if you hold your pencil towards the top, almost kind of forces you to do a little bit of that pendulum motion. We're kind of going to bring it up into the cheek, almost where it kind of hits that guideline. And then if you got what you like, of course we can go and darken it in. And I did talk about how strong their horn is, but also their mouth. They got really strong mouth that they can even eat through things like bark and even fur. Now, beetles themselves are omnivores, means that they might eat meat or plants. But for these rhino beetles in particular, they actually are herbivores. You might see them eating things like sap or nectar. Though to eat might be helpful to have some teeth. So we're going to add some of those in. We're going to go, almost if you follow this guideline down, it's kind of a good place to start the teeth. And we're going to go out a little bit. And the good news is we already got the curve. So we're just going to make a second one a little bit below that. And we're going to kind of reach to that guideline. Now as we get close to it though, we're going to kind of tuck it up. Not go all the way. But he's got teeth. Probably not going to be helpful though without that bottom jaw. Now his jaw, once again, we're going to kind of use a few more guidelines to help ourselves out. So we use this for our teeth. We're going to go in a little bit more, almost kind of like where your eyeball might start. And we're going to go down. We're kind of going to this nice and light. We're going to pull out of that circle. Now it is going to end up being like a very big J shape. And like I said, you know me by now. We always like to have an ending point. Our ending point is going to be this guideline right here. So we can even start from either side. Whatever's easiest for you. And get that kind of leaning J shape. And if you got what you like, go and darken it in. But now with that bottom jaw, he can talk. His voice actor is Brad Garrett. Now if that name doesn't ring a bell, his name is Dim, so maybe not the brightest. Brad Garrett also played in Dumb and Dumber. He was Jim Carrey's co-star. But we have our lip out here. Now we're also going to give him his bottom row of teeth. For his teeth, we're not going to go all the way where we're starting. We're going to go down a little and really curve it. can even kind of brush your pencil back and forth. We are going to get close to this guideline, but not quite touch it. Maybe he's got cooties, so we can go back up. Now, one thing we are going to do as we go to darken in this line, show a little bit of that overlap with that lip. As we are going down, kind of pull that line almost like it was reaching for the guideline, and then go back a little to darken it in. Now this weird little overlap that we are doing, almost the same kind of thing that we'll end up doing for their teeth. Now this we can start right where the cheek is and kind of make it like a nice little waterfall. It's kind of going to go down, kind of follow our curve, and go back up. And now that as we go to darken it in, same kind of thing. We'll go and pull it over and out. Now one very important thing though with the mouth, especially for the characters that can talk, he needs his tongue. Now don't worry though, his tongue is a nice classic kind of cartoon bump tongue, just two little hills. So we're gonna start with our first one. Way over here, it kind of goes behind the teeth, but you can kind of keep following your pencil to go down. We got one bump, and two. And then to really show that tongue, can even kind of darken in a little bit of this background. And now he's got his mouth so he can eat and he can talk. I even see some of our beetles eating some fruit. If you were maybe in the queue and you went to that tree trunk, we got the Harlequin beetle, so really fun to check out. We have 3 different ones to go see. The other 2 will be kind of around the windows over there. But now we got most of his face. We also want him to express. Remember, he's an animated character, so definitely should give him some eyebrows. His eyebrows are kind of looking like quotation marks. Now his first one's going to live for this eye over here, just a little bit above it. We're going to kind of do like a backwards C shape. And then kind of pull it over. Get close to that guideline, but not quite touch it. And then for his other eyebrow, you can almost use your horn and pull it over. Kind of a good area to start, about between the middle of the eye. But now he can be nice and expressive. Now these animators did have kind of a tough time expressing a lot of characters, especially for some of those crowd scenes. It's a pretty big challenge for them. Some of those giant crowd scenes with all those ants, they actually had to animate about 800 individual characters. It does take a while. Now one thing though that we are going to see on beetles though is going to be their antennas. We have a nice guideline right over here to help ourselves out. Now for this antenna, for the base, kind of use the horn as well. And we're going to go over almost about the middle part of your eyebrow. We're going to make a little U shape. Now it is a very curvy antenna, so we're going to be loose and have fun with it. Keep it nice and light at first. And kind of go from either end. I like to kind of start with our guideline and kind of just slowly go over. Now for the antenna, you can see this is a very little U shape. So as we're going to be curving around, we're going to start to make sure it's a little bit skinnier down here on this side. But their antennas, they are kind of short. They actually use them for tasting and smelling. Some other bugs, they use those antennas for other senses. These beetles, though, they actually have all these tiny little hairs that we cover in their body. Kind of helps them, like I said, sense what might be around them. Now, beetles themselves, they actually do take up a majority of the insect world. They can take up about 40% of all insects. But we got one antenna right here. His antenna does have a few little divisions to them. A nice little C or kind of U shapes, however you want to think of it. I'm going to start with the one right over here, almost right above the horn. Make sure we're keeping it nice and curvy. Whenever you have flat lines, it kind of tends to make that character a little bit flat. So keeping them curvy helps to really push that 3-dimension. Just add a few more in. Now for the other antenna, it is actually going to start slightly higher than the other one. And we can kind of use, we're kind of following this guideline, about halfway. I'll bring it up a little bit more. Now we actually don't have an ending point for the antenna. We're gonna help ourselves out by kind of building one. You can see this nice intersection right here. Gonna keep it nice and curvy and kind of reach for it. So we're gonna go above it, just like that. And we can go and make a nice big U shape, just like this antenna. Kind of make it nice and curvy. And then as we're pulling it back down, make sure it's a little bit skinnier. And we can go and end up darkening it in. And just like before, if you want, you can add in a few more of those little rings. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now those are always a good time though. Those are kind of icings on the cake. You can always add those details in later. Now you remember how we made these little U shapes right here? It's kind of got on the opposite side, so that way these antennas have like a place to rest. Just like that. But he's got his face and he can sense. Kind of need to start working on his body. It's almost like a helmet or like a armor with these beetles. His head, those kind of start right on this guideline here. Nice big S curve. So we're gonna kind of go out and curve it up. Now we are gonna continue that by pulling it up. Now it's gonna be really arching, like a nice big rainbow. You can see we have this guideline right here. Let me even push our camera out just a little bit. So it's got that nice large body that we get to draw. This is where we're gonna end, right over there. So once again, keep it nice and light. Start to pull it up. Maybe your helmet didn't really turn out. That's okay. He's on vacation. Maybe give him a nice little hat. He'll probably appreciate it. But if you got what you like, we can go back and kind of darken it in. Like I said, especially remember getting that nickname of the Hercules beetle. Give him some armor. Now this is where, if you remember, like, since I said football helmets, like those really old leathery ones, that kind of have those nice weird ear flaps. It's kind of what we're going to be drawing. You can see our guideline right here, and this guideline, kind of find like a nice little halfway point. You can draw a little dot. It's going to help ourselves out. And we can even use the curve of the circle now. Just kind of be sketching downwards and make it a nice big U shape. Now here's where it does become a little bit tricky. We are going to go outside of the circle so we can pull it up. And as we start to leave the circle, I'm going to kind of aim a little bit past that antenna. Now we can go and darken it in. As we finish towards this top part, he just has one extra little detail here. It's going to be, once again, nice little J. Or even think of like a nice teardrop. Remember in Bug's Life, Flick definitely used all those little water drops, especially when he makes his little telescope. And I just have a few extra details. We're going to connect it now, making this cheek connect to that jaw. Make a nice little break. And I kind of trace this circle. We'll start to pull it out. And this line right here, easy peasy. Just gonna trace it. And why not? Why not do two? We'll go and trace our top part. That's a nice little covering, of course, when his wings come out. Now we just have one extra line to draw. We have this guideline that we haven't used yet. We're going to kind of see how his neck ends up connecting to his body, kind of separate those wings. So we'll kind of pull it out a little bit, really stretch it, and then come pretty close to that football helmet. And we can pull it down. Once again, we can go and end up darkening it in. Now, if you want to add some extra details on the wings, you can follow along. I'm going to kind of add some of those details we might see in the movie. This is a great chance. Maybe you want to add some Mickeys to him or kind of personalize it. Make sure that you just have fun with it. But as we are kind of pull it up, just kind of these like J shapes. But then the rest of the lines, I'm going to still make it a J, but then kind of just follow that curve. Just kind of go right down that curve. Be messy, have fun with it. Like I said, some of these details we added, especially since these animators were able to get kind of that real life inspiration. And you can do the same kind of thing. Go out to your own backyard. Go see what bugs you might have. And if you're kind of unfamiliar with bugs, like I don't know too much about all the different species. Like I said, they take about 25% of life. You can even download different apps. There's one called iSeek and kind of helps you identify some of those bugs. And you can even learn how to care for them. Maybe you're not a big fan of bugs and just want them to kind of stay in their own spot. Build a little habitat for them. Especially if you have seen Bugs Life, you remember they have the hotels and of course that carnival set. You can do the same kind of thing. Build a nice bug hotel. Keep up with it. But as we are adding in those last few details, I do want to ask, I'm assuming because we just debuted this character today, is that everybody's first time drawing Dim? Yeah, most of you? Okay, awesome. Well, you just made your best or worst Dim drawing ever. And that is the cool thing with drawing. You can only get better the more and more you do it. So I definitely want you to be proud of this drawing. And one way we can show that is by adding our signature. Making sure we're going to be signing this. And then maybe you plan to draw him again. We can definitely go back and date it, or maybe in a few weeks when you watch that show and you feel really inspired, you can definitely try to draw him again. It's going to be 1/8/24, so we're on a whole new year. Those drawings that you just made, those are yours to keep. Nice free Disney souvenir. Just keep them safe so when you go back home you can put them up or frame them. Though if you do not want your drawing, that is okay as well. Just make sure we're going to be recycling them out in the baskets right over there. Pencils and crayons, take them with you as well. They're yours to keep, but if you don't want them, we can recycle them in those baskets as well. One thing that we ask to leave here is going to be those clipboards. And we can do it one step farther, put them back up on those seats just like we found them. That will help us for our next class coming in. But I hope you had so much fun. Go and share your drawings online, and even hashtag Disney Animals. Add a cool fact that you just learned. Of course, enjoy the rest of your day out here in Disney's Animal Kingdom. Goodbye, everyone.
Thank you all for joining us in the animation experience at Conservation Station. Please gather your personal belongings before exiting, and remember to take your artwork with you. We hope you enjoy the rest of your visit at Rafiki's Planet Watch and the rest of your adventure here at Disney's Animal Kingdom. Goodbye.
For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish, but have everlasting life.
What they did is they actually just took inspiration from their own backyard. So they can do the same thing when you head back home. They set up a nice little camera called the Bug Cam, and it was super advanced. It was a little camera with some Lego wheels.